talk a little bit more about the law enforcement challenges at the border, which I know a number of other members have brought up with you. Just a fundamental question. Do you believe that illegal entry at America's border should remain a crime?
Well, I haven't thought about that question. I just haven't thought about that question. I think the president has made clear that we are a country of with the borders and with a concern about national security. I don't know of a proposal to decriminalize but still make it unlawful to enter. I just don't know the answer to that question. I haven't thought about it.
Will you continue to prosecute unlawful border crossings?
Well, this is again a question of allocation of resources. We will, the department will prevent unlawful crossing. I don't know. I have to admit, I just don't know exactly what the conditions are and how this is done. I think if I don't know what the current program even is with respect to this. So I assume that the answer would be yes, but I don't know what the.
That is the voice for our podcast and radio audience. That's the voice of Merrick, Mr. Magoo Garland. It's stunning. I could listen to that all night long. Okay, you're in a militarily occupied Washington, D.C. It's the 47th day of the occupation. Still haven't got, Ron Johnson over the weekend on Maria Bartiromo's first question. Still haven't heard McCarthy, Jordan, Mitch McConnell, anybody demanding. And maybe today, 10 o'clock, starting right now, the Senate investigation on, or at least the hearing on the riot of January 6th is starting. We're going to be fed live, not a live stream. We're going to be getting inside information about what's going on. So maybe we'll break in here about this. But that's where we
the
got
Homeland Security Committee.
Homeland Security Committee. So you got Johnson on it. You've got Josh Hawley on it. You've got some hitters on it. You're in the War Room. Over 37 million downloads on the podcast. We're on Real America's Voice. Up on the Bird, Dish Channel 219, Comcast Channel 113 out in the Midwest. Also, Real America's Voice, the streaming platform. Rumble, Telegram, Gab, Roku, Pluto, everywhere. We meet you where you are. We've got live streams going on. We got chats going on. We've got the ability to get our newsletter, show notes, all of it, all for free, so you can become a force multiplier. We're going to cover a lot of territory today. We're going to talk about this Biden cabinet. And go ahead, sir.
You didn't tell them where you can get that.
Where can you get it?
At warroom.org.
At warroom.org/join? Is it got to get fancy?
/join if you want to join up to all of the different platforms. Warroom.org as well as the landing is the homepage, and you get all of that right there.
We're going to go from Pennsylvania to Georgia to talk about election, but changing these laws, what's happening on Justice Thomas had this great quote yesterday in his dissenting opinion about November 3rd. Still got to get to the bottom of that. Program note, Mike Lindell, I think it was the only TV appearance he made yesterday. The Bold, a show that is War and Pandemic. He's going to be on at 5 p.m. today with an update of his of the Dominion voting systems. Mike Lindell, throwdown. Commander Eric Greitens, Governor Eric Greitens, former governor of Missouri, joins us in studio. Host. Also breaking news, and this is the War Room Posse. You've stood up and your voice has been heard. And also the John Fredericks Radio Network, the Oracle of the Deplorables. Senator Perdue has now, I think, put an announcement today. He's officially dropping out. He's not going to run in the special election or the regular election, I guess, coming up in 2022. He is out in Georgia, and that gets to a deeper issue. By the way, we're going to have a whole thing on Fauci in the second hour. We've got Sam Faddis, the former CIA agent, getting us up to speed on what's happening in Pennsylvania on the voter integrity. John Fredericks from Georgia on voter integrity. Sam Faddis is also going to talk to us about my favorite topic, the brothers Gracchi. The Gracchi. So the revolutionaries of Rome and why it's meaningful today. We got Dan Schultz talking about how you can get empowered.
This is for our friend Perdue.
Oh, let's do it! Do it! Hit it, dude! Can we get it up? Can we get Denver together?
I don't know if we've got it in the old system anymore, but if
we got to do one when John Fredericks comes on at 10:30. Let's get that's
we haven't had it in so long.
Is that from Ghana?
It's the pallbearers.
Pallbearers. I think it's from Ghana, right? The pallbearers. But when you go out feet first here on the show, that's what we do it as an homage. We got so much going on. I want to get to the Biden cabinet, the second we're going to have breaking news and something that's quite frankly shocking in the B block from the great team at National Pulse. I don't want to tee up too much, but it's going to be shocking. We'll let the video play for itself, and then we'll talk about it. But I want to get back to Greitens. You've had the responsibility of being a governor. You know the issue. And we say every town's a border town, right? Chicago, a couple of years ago, public enemy number one, the Chicago Crime Commission, for the first time since Al Capone at the height of Prohibition, when Al Capone was basically king of organized crime in this nation, since he was named public enemy number one, they had El Chapo was named in Chicago because all the gang violence up there was driven by drugs coming up through the border by the cartels up through Dallas, was I-35 all the way up in the Midwest.
Through St. Louis.
Through St. Louis, and there's one of the issues, East St. Louis, and these problems. You've got too many illegal immigrants, illegal aliens competing for the low-end jobs, so people can't make money. They can't donation. None of that's happening. The drugs are brought in. Greitens, because we played this last night on the show, and it was such an overwhelming response. People said you got to get on top of this. The guy's like Mr. Magoo. To hear a guy's going to be Attorney General of the United States say that he doesn't know if it's a crime or not, and nobody's talked about it, and he thinks Biden's going to keep it, but doesn't know, and I haven't thought about it. He ought to read the Democratic Party platform or look at their amnesty bill. They're not only don't they want anybody down at the border guarding this, they're gutting ICE and all these internal agencies. How does that strike you in a situation? I mean, how can any Republican or conservative Democrat like Manchin vote for Merrick Garland?
Well, first of all, let me just paint a picture for the audience out there. You said military occupation day 47. Like as I'm coming in today, where you're seeing this, if you're watching on TV or where you're hearing it, where Merrick Garland is in the United States Senate, you have right now a giant homeless encampment, and then across the street, razor wire keeping out the American people. This is Joe Biden's America in your capital right here in Washington, D.C. That's what Joe Biden is bringing you, a homeless encampment and razor wire to keep Americans
Is that
out.
homeless encampment all homeless, or does he still have the Antifa? You guys broke that story. I think it was in Sheridan Square. Is that really a homeless, or is it more like in New York where the media won't report who's actually living down there?
The one right here opposite the Heritage Foundation?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I mean, so firstly, we mentioned this on the podcast yesterday. Natalie actually went there and counted 12 tents up there right now. You know, you've been here for forever, frankly, and you've seen there's always one homeless person in that neighborhood. There's always been one.
Yes.
And it went to 12 right before January the 6th. 12 tents. It's 12 tents there right now. But I want people to understand, this is 10 foot away from the front line with the razor wire fence and the National Guard, and they won't clear the encampment. And we had a producer from Real America's Voice who went there a couple of weeks ago and started asking questions. And one of the guys who was just sitting there in the middle of the thing said, I'm not homeless. I have a job. Like, I'm just here because of certain circumstances. Like, to talk. We have a full interview with him. I mean, he's gibbering on like a lunatic, but he's clearly like, you know, he's not an old bum. You know what I mean? It's bizarre what's going on.
How much of this is Antifa and certain bad elements?
I'm telling you, boogaloo, boogaloo, boogaloo. It's the accelerationist types, the boogaloo stuff. Look, I was talking to Jack Posobiec about this the other night. We were just having a phone call. I'm sure he won't mind me sharing. It fell off a cliff reporting on boogaloo. It dropped off a cliff in November, December. All last year we were told the boogaloo boys. Then suddenly, shh, nobody talk about that.
Why is that?
Well, because I truly believe that a lot of these people that you saw who were troublemaking in advance of January the 6th, who were planning online, remember, some reporters even got into these Zoom calls where people of the, you know, I don't even like to say hard left and hard right. These are just complete anarchists. They do not care about Donald Trump. They do not care about Joe Biden. They don't care about any of that. They see this mission as a means by which to fundamentally reorient the republic. And they don't care about your politicians, and they don't care about your philosophy. They don't care about your ideology. And I truly believe that those are the hardcore, the hardliners that were put on the front lines on January the 6th to wave people in and say, come on in, we're all good.
Are we going to hear that? Are we going to hear that today from Hawley and from Johnson? They're going to ask those tough questions?
If they do not ask those tough questions, then we know this whole hearing's pointless.
Okay, Greitens, you've been a public official. How do you have barbed wire? You have between, we don't know, 5,000 or 7,000. I'd like them to get an answer today. How many troops are actually here up armored? Between 5,000 and 7,000. How do you then let these encampments all over town if they're right outside the razor wire?
Well, look, what it demonstrates is how confused the left's priorities are. It just demonstrates what they're doing. You've got Joe Biden's nominee to be the man who's responsible for being the chief law enforcement officer of the United States of America, and he doesn't know whether or not illegally crossing a border should be a crime or not. He's just confused.
I thought Josh Hawley, and look, we're big Josh Hawley fans, but I thought Josh Hawley really went easy on him. I thought he should have come in hard. Like, that's just not an acceptable answer.
It's not an acceptable answer, and you got to hit hard. Look, the American people might be divided on many things, but the vast majority of American people believe that there should be a border. The vast majority of American people recognize that this is essential for public safety, for public health.
You guys have done the EO polling, the executive orders, all the executive orders. You looked at the polling.
Yeah.
It showed the executive orders on the border they don't fog a mirror. Even the left is not, because people understand there's a problem here, and we're building up to a bigger crisis. How can you give that answer? And why is the media not – now, I'm not talking about the mainstream media. Even the conservative media is not all over this. This is the beating heart of the problem. Also, I watched the guy think, he is Mr. Magoo. I mean, this guy was going to be on the Justice of the Supreme Court. I always thought Merrick Garland was like kind of the man for their side, right? Remember, the reason he's not on the Supreme Court is because Hillary Clinton knew she was going to win in a landslide in 2016. They wanted Lawrence Tribe. They wanted a more progressive guy. He was just center-left. My problem with him, it's like Wilbur Ross. I love Wilbur. Sometimes you didn't know Wilbur was sleeping through the meeting or just taking notes in a different way. Is this guy all there? Did you hear any crisp answers to anything yesterday? They had the very moving thing about the Holocaust and the family. I got that. That was very moving, very emotional. But when you start getting into the hard questions, I didn't see a crispness to really know where this guy's coming from, except for on some of the biggest issues today, quite confused.
Put it this way, I think he may have beaten Jen Psaki's record for ums a minute.
So this is you've got the thing, but this is the thing. Why are they not crisp? They were the Trump, the hit on Trump from these guys. Totally confused, mixed messages, Trump's tweet, all that stuff. This is Class C ball, right?
The left isn't crisp. They want to use these words to say that they're sort of the intellectual elite. Bring it! Come on out in the deep water, guys. Let's talk about your ideas. And when you see they can't do it, here's what they can do, Steve. They can call names. They can accuse people of this. They can accuse people of that. But what they can't do is they can't even articulate their own philosophy.
Yeah, but we're missing the point here.
Okay.
Because, over the course of this morning alone, Democrats have introduced bills to defund monuments and statues, to, we have a whole list. We're actually publishing live right now all these different crazy bills that the Democrats are putting out. What else have we got this morning?
At thenationalpost.com.
We've got a new racism center for the study of white supremacism within the CDC. They can't find checks for ordinary people, but they can find millions and millions of dollars for their
because
they are flooding the zone with you-know-what.
Because
they don't care if Merrick Garland can't string a sentence together.
Because it's a disease. Okay, let's go to, we're going to take a short commercial break and return. Some pretty shocking. I'm going to start with a shocking video that here's what I'm shocked about. Why have the Republicans on Senate staffs not put this together and had it out from day one? I mean, why are the team over National Pulse, American Principles Project, why are they doing all the heavy lifting for the Republican Senate? Okay, Eric Greitens, Raheem Kassam, Steve Bannon will be back in the war in just a second.
We rejoice when there's no more. Let's take down the CCP. They have all lied for too long. We will end what they do wrong. Spread the word of the wrong. Come, let's take down the CCP.
War Room Pandemic with Stephen K. Bannon.
The epidemic is a demon, and we cannot let this demon hide.
War Room Pandemic. Here's your host, Stephen K. Bannon.
So what if you're a transgender teenager, right? So what if you remember puberty? Wasn't that fun? Wasn't that a lot of fun? So what if you're going through the wrong puberty? What if you're a transgender young woman, meaning male to female, and now you're getting, your voice is dropping, you're getting bigger, you're getting hair everywhere, and you're growing those tentacles, And what if you're a transgender young man and now you have breast development in periods? It can be terrifying, and there's a lot of mental health issues during that time. The previous treatment, before these new guidelines came about, that's when you're 18 and have a nice life. Basically, there was no medical treatment for individuals that were under 18. So there are new guidelines, and so these are the new guidelines that are very well accepted by healthcare professionals. They're international guidelines, and most children's hospitals will be doing this. For prepubertal children, there is no medical treatment. Well, that kind of makes sense. I mean, they're prepubertal, so they don't really have clinical levels of sex hormones, so what medical treatment would you want to do? So the idea would be to see a counselor or a therapist who is supportive, who has knowledge about these issues, to, you could some see me medically, and then depending on their age, come see me in a year or two, but there's nothing medical to do. The first phase in adolescent age is to give what are called a pubertal blocker, to give a medicine to block the progression of puberty. You start low doses, you gradually increase, so that they never go through the wrong puberty. That way, for a transgender woman, male to female, their voice doesn't drop, they don't have hair, they don't have to have electrolysis. For a transgender man, they don't have breast development that will need surgery, they don't have periods, etc. So you block puberty, and then you can, at the appropriate time, send them through the puberty consistent with their gender identity. If they're under 18 and they're not an emancipated minor, meaning if they're under 18 and they are on the street or they're completely emancipated from their parents, then you can do treatment. This little boy was great. He said, puberty was awful. My body changed from what I wanted. I grew hair and tentacles. And I went, Johnny, you grew tentacles. You mean testicles? And he went, oh, yeah, testicles. I was like,
well, I think for a lot of people, that will be the first time they've seen one of the key Biden nominees. That's Dr. Rachel Levine giving a speech about prepubertal transitions and transgenderism and puberty blockers. And I think most people will find that completely and totally shocking and unacceptable. But there's a reason I think we haven't heard more about this. Pick
whether
and
they
about
find
this
it
nominee.
unacceptable or not, people just have to have the information. People can come to their own conclusions. I think that's the power of this video. And when does this hearing start?
So it's tomorrow that I think we're going to start seeing from Dr. Levine, for the confirmation.
Yep.
But I want to bring John Schweppe in. He's the policy director for the American Principles Project. John, you were the first person who brought that video to my attention, and I got to tell you, I was stunned. I mean, I knew that there was some really strange and radical elements here in this that we'd see in this confirmation process. But that video, I think, will stun most people. Tell us more about Dr. Rachel Levine. What is Dr. Levine auditioning for, and when are we going to hear more about this in the Senate?
Well, yeah, no, that video is very grim. It's hard to watch because this is one of the foremost advocates for transgender health in the country, especially when it comes to minors. And Dr. Rachel Levine, very interested in making sure that kids can transition. I mean, this is just the reality of it. This is sex changes for kids. That hearing will actually be on Thursday. The Help Committee, the Senate Help Committee, will be hearing from Dr. Levine, and hopefully Republican members. There are Democrat members as well. Probably won't hear from them.
Hang on. What do you mean, hopefully? As American Principles Project, you guys are the leading kind of research group around the American family, right? I take it you've done, on the Republican members that are in the minority, who are the head inquisitors here? Who are the guys who are going to, because Dr. Levine has got a lot to answer for, I think, with Fauci, about CDC, about, apart from this, to me, this is one of the most important hearings of all, given where we are in the CCP virus. And yesterday, I just want to note, Joe Biden and everybody did the flag at half staff, had a very a big ceremony late in the evening with the candles all over the White House. Not one time, I watched it, I don't believe I ever heard the Chinese Communist Party virus. They talked about our D-Day. Well, on our D-Day, the young men and women of the greatest generation died at the hands of the Nazis on the Atlantic Wall, Rommel's guys, right? We knew who the enemy was. Here, hey, no offense, is the Chinese Communist Party. Let this virus out, didn't hear anything. So I thought Dr. Levine's hearing has got so many layers to it. But on this particular layer, Like, I'd never seen this stuff before. When are you reaching out to Republicans on the Senate? And when you say, hey, I hope they do, or probably, that's not, I mean, is this going to be drilled down by?
No, you're right. You're right, Steve. We're being very active with it. We have meetings with senators directly. We've been talking with Senate staff, peppering them with possible questions that they could ask. So we're encouraged. We've been getting a lot of support from other groups and that sort of thing. I mean, the problem with this, unfortunately, is that the Democrats kind of snuck up on us. I was telling Raheem this before the show. We started working on this last week. We thought this hearing would come up a little bit later, and they're doing all of it all at once to kind of distract us, right? So we have this Becerra hearing today. All the pro-life groups, all that, are focusing on him because he is the head of HHS, and then Levine on Thursday is kind of a sneak attack. And not to mention the Equality Act vote in the House. I mean, you have a lot going on this week.
This is what I mean when I say they're flooding the zone.
Yeah, but hang on. It's also the first 100 days of a new administration. I got that. We try to do the same thing. A lot of stuff happens. I didn't say it was easy. I know this is hard, but these are not small items. When you say just a week ago, Dr. Levine was nominated, correct me if I'm wrong, I think one of the first nominees of Biden's administration was Dr. Levine in November. I'm just throwing it in late November, around Thanksgiving. Right, even before that there was any official. When did Dr. Levine's name?
I think it was officially announced a couple weeks ago. But you're right that Levine's name has been.
But unofficially, I mean, Levine was going to be their pick, right? It's pretty obvious. Yeah. So, and I'm not picking. Look, American Principal Prize, you guys do a great job. Terry Schilling, you guys are fantastic. I realize you're a small group, and remember, for our audience, you got to go to their site. They're leading the effort against the destruction of girls' sports. Right, by having a young boys that can compete in girls' sports, right, and they're on the cutting edge of that. But it's not your responsibility. You're an outside group trying to do it. Where in the Senate, when you talk to these people, are they coming to you and, hey, we're all over this? This is my problem, and this is the stay with thing. I'm not seeing any fight up here. I'm not seeing any fire up here. I'm not seeing any, and this is why. Look, I love Senator Perdue. He's a very good man. Okay, I just don't think the time is right for guys like that in this. What we need fighters. We need people prepared to sit there and go, "Hey, I'm going to sit here all day and drill down on you, Merrick Garland. I don't care if it takes the rest of the day, and we got to have a 3 or 4 or 5 day confirmation hearing." And I'm not somebody who says you should hold back confirmations unnecessarily. But I think we now need, like the OMB director. Manchin's getting lit up today by Senator Alex Cortez because, the young woman who's going to run against Chuck Schumer, AOC, because she's lighting him up about the Interior Department, the Native American woman that Manchin says he's soft on, and she's going out and saying, things are racist, all this. This is not for American Principles Project or Numbers USA or CIS. These are outside groups that are there. They're all very small. They're all strapped for resources. Heck, the resources institutionally in the Republican Party in the Senate. These guys have staffs. They have committees that have staffs. Minorities have staffs. Greitens, so what's going on here? I don't want to look. I'm not trying to beat these guys up for nothing, but this is a bigger issue.
It gets to the very heart of what you and Raheem have been talking about for so long, which is that putting America first, the Make America Great Again movement. People looked around after the election and they said, where are the fighters? Where are the people who are willing to go out and to fight on behalf of the American people and make sure that this was an election that was done with integrity? Where are the fighters? And right now they're looking at the Senate and they're looking at all of Joe Biden's nominees. They're looking at them, killing construction of the border wall. And then you've got an attorney general who comes in who says he doesn't even know if it's a crime to illegally cross the border. All of these things are happening and people are looking around and they're saying, where are the fighters?
Look, Meghan McCain, and we're no fan of her. She comes out yesterday. She says Fauci's got to go. And this is what I've been saying all weekend. We're going to try to get something to tee off the second hour. Of Fauci's all over. So Dr. Levine's hearing, they should block a week out. And this is not trying to unfairly stop a guy, but say, hey, look, there's a lot to go through here. And this is part of it, right? First of all, I think just for the American people to understand exactly what are you talking about. When you say this, let's get down to the basics. What backs this up? What is this about? Be even-handed, but be firm and be aggressive, right? But this is one of, and this is shocking, but this is one of 10 areas to me that HHS is the top of that. First off, I'd like to ask Dr. Levine, Do you support gain-of-function experimentation? And would you go in and do an investigation, an open investigation about Collins and Fauci look like single-handedly approving gain-of-function and financing the Chinese Communist Party and Wuhan lab, right? And it looks like in your budget you're going to finance it for the next 3 years. So, Dr. Levine, can you walk me through CDC? How are you going to manage what seems to be this is the administrative state. It's not a deep state. Yep. There's no conspiracy. This is the way these guys roll. So, but I tell you what's most shocking to me about the tape is that it took American Principles Project in the last week to put it together. This guy's been a strong advocate. I think his claim to fame is this is one of his claims to fame is this is what he's an advocate.
No, and
for.
I have to give John Schweppe the credit for going through and pulling this out, because this is a video with actually this slideshow that's buried within it that walks you through all of the stuff.
Schweppe, stay over here for the break. We're going to take a short commercial break. We're going to come back. We got John Fredericks. We got others. We got so much to go through, but we got to get to the bottom of all these confirmation hearings. Remember, I said it about 3 weeks ago. The guys at the top are the most moderate. It's the undersecretary and deputies where the radicals are. Nobody's reporting this. All the radicals are at the next two leaders. Dr. Levine, he's just another, he's another doctor who's going to head the thing up. The radicals are really the next step down. Be back in a second.
Bring it on and now fight to the end. Just watch and see. It's all started. Everything's begun. And you are over.
War Room Pandemic with Stephen K. Bannon.
The epidemic is a demon, and we cannot let this demon hide.
War Room Pandemic. Here's your host, Stephen K. Bannon.
Okay, one of the folks in the live chat saying you can't fight without the votes. Au contraire. As military history shows you, hostile takeovers show you, you have a blocking minority, you can cause a lot of ruckus, okay? We need to fight. Hey, guess what? We don't have the votes, so you got to get the votes. We're going to have Dan Schultz on here about how you can become a precinct committeeman and start to empower you. This is about your agency, okay? Really proud of the American Principles Project. I think what people need here is more information. This is a topic that's going around, but people. So I think what we need to do is get everybody. What's incumbent today is the National Pulse's story up, Raheem. The National Pulse story.
The story's up.
Raheem.
Sorry, I told you in the break that the story was up.
I know, but that was your mark. Okay. Story's up on National Pulse. People should go there right now. Let's put it in the live chat. Also, the American Principles Project has a lot more. You get the video. They got a slideshow, more information. Then I think is a force multiplier. Get this to you. Get to particularly focus on people on the committee, and you should start peppering these guys with questions you want to have asked. Just don't go and say I want to block it. Hey, I'm a believer that a president should be able to pick the cabinet he wants, okay? Unless it's extraordinary circumstances. And I know what we went through to get our guys, and a lot of the stuff was totally unfair, okay? The system is he should get a cabinet, but it doesn't mean you can't go down and drill down hard and ask the tough questions. That's what we need to do
and
here.
It's good for the American people, frankly, if they see this is the cabinet that Joe Biden wants. Right? Let him see. Let Joe Biden stand there and say, yes, this is right. This is the cabinet that I want. But we need to have people who are out there asking the tough questions, who are putting up the fight, who are demanding that they answer the hard questions.
I actually do think this is disqualifying.
Okay.
I really do.
Okay.
It's a personal opinion.
Okay. But here's my point. What Dr. Levine is going to oversee is much bigger than this. He is going to really be at the center of combating the CCP virus. Right now, this is where we're going to get to the Fauci thing. We have why is Meghan McCain all of a sudden say, fire Fauci, starting to hear these voices? It's all over the map. We don't know the school open program. We don't know about what's really herd immunity. We don't know if herd immunity, both people have had the disease, vaccine. We don't even know in the vaccine, they can't answer. CNN and these guys are trying to ask the easiest questions so politely. Hey, if my parents have the vaccine, can the grandkids now go over for Sunday dinner? Can they get a hug? Hubbada, 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 hubbada. And you see the anchors are sitting there. They're totally confused, but they don't want to press it because they may get a bad response. So Dr. Levine is going to be the guy, right? I mean, he's got to be. They got it. So if you got a question, the people on the committee, we'll get the committee names up and how you respond to them. You ought to be flooding the zone, since obviously it looks like the committee's not reaching out. American Principles Project's got to do this work. Then guess what? This is about your agency. Get the questions you demand to be answered by Dr. Levine at this hearing. First off, on this issue, but on all the other issues. Take power in your own hands, and we're going to compile a list of questions, and we're going to find out, To me, it's just unacceptable. These senators are not hitting on all cylinders here, okay? And it's not to unfairly not confirm somebody, but it's to ask tough questions, and more than just in the Twitter feed, right? I agree with the OMB thing, but it's more than just, you can't just break this down to social media. This is about policy. This is about going forward, and nothing's more central to this country right now than getting hands on the CCP virus. Before we let Schweppe go, we got John Fredericks, breaking news out of Georgia. Anything for Schweppe? I want all the American principles. How do people go that you're doing great work?
Yeah, John, just please tell our audience how, because as we've said, you guys pulled this out. As far as I'm concerned, you're the only group that's been monitoring this. Steve Bannon's grumpiness aside, you are the only group that's been on top of this.
I'm grumpy.
So
ask my producer Cameron. I'm not grumpy. I'm ornery today.
John, please tell us where people can go and what people should do right now. Because I agree with Steve. There's no leadership on this on the Senate side. The leadership has to come from the public, right?
Yes.
Absolutely. Look, the problem is exactly what Steve said. People just don't know about this. I think really that's what it comes down to. I mean, American Principles Project, our PAC, ran ads on the sex changes for children issue. And a lot of folks were just like, come on, you guys are being conspiracy theorists. This isn't real. It's real. It's out there. And so I think what we have to do now is we have to call these senators. This committee hearing's on Thursday. You guys will put up the list of the senators, but there's plenty there. Guys like Coach Tuberville. I mean, we can get them to ask questions, and I think really, make this a political vote. Make the Democrats
look. It's advice and consent. It's advice and consent, right? That's what for confirmation. It's cabinet people should not be, unless there's extraordinary circumstances, I think, confirmed, because we had to go through the same process. However, all the facts and issues should get on the table. It's Greitens' point. If this is your cabinet, let's just know this. Let's just go up front and walk us through up front where you stand from a policy perspective and where your focus is going to be. What's important to you? What are you going to focus on?
John, can I just ask you before we let you go finally, I just want to ask you as well of two things. One is going to be where people can go to support you guys. But secondly, you guys actually took ads out on similar subjects and have had them taken down, removed, and blocked, correct?
No, that's right. We did a women's sports ad, and Facebook decided to remove that. We were trying in Michigan. But they've done it on this too. Sex changes for minors. I mean, we just use facts. Like, we're not making stuff up. We're going off of what people have said. There's stuff in the Equality Act about this too. I mean, we're just trying to get it out there. And I think the key thing is, like, if the activist, if your audience makes these calls and tells people, look, this is a real, in Washington, this is a really big deal. We care about this. We know from the polling you guys do. We see it. Maybe then we'll finally get some action.
John, what's the APP website?
Yeah.
AmericanPrinciplesProject.org. Thank you guys so much.
Okay, thank you.
Can I make one other point on
Eric,
this?
just jump in on the mic.
What's gonna happen, I guarantee you, on this and all these issues, is that the left's gonna come in and they're gonna tell you, all of your viewers, everybody who's listening right now, they're gonna say, well, the science is behind us. But they won't actually show you the science. They won't actually show you the numbers. They're just gonna make an assertion. The science is behind us.
Greitens has hit on a key point, as he always does. That's because Greitens is a Rhodes Scholar, okay? This is the key point. And I was going to actually do a mashup later in the week. Science-based, evidence-based, data-based. This gets to a broader and deeper topic, this issue of transhumanism, which we're going to spend a lot of time on. Because you can see we are coming to this gulf between the two cultures. They're saying the populist, nationalist, traditionalist, religious or spiritual humanist faction are anti-data, anti-science, anti-evidence, whereas the globalist, elitist, secularist / atheist, materialist are the data-based, right? This is their data-based, their science-based, their evidence-based, and your evidence. And I keep saying, hey, I think we actually have the smarter guys on our side of the football. And they will never come up and actually go through the receipts.
Right.
They don't want to talk about the evidence. Fauci, and this is what I say about, they had Michael Steele on MSNBC then, a meltdown that Texas and these lines, this is what happened with Steve Bannon and the deconstruction administrative state. Steele's a guy that's just never gotten it. But he doesn't understand. What you're seeing at NIH and what you're seeing with Fauci is the administrative state. These become bureaucratic entities and create their own myths, their own legends. They look at things their own way. It's like medieval theology. How many angels can dance on the head of a pin? They take it as matters of faith, and they will not come up. That's why Fauci, Meghan McCain, look, she's on The View. They were loving up on Fauci back then. For her to step out there and say Fauci's got to go, for her to come into the war room aspect, and we've been saying from day one and here's the reason. Navarro, on January 27th, the first guy to resist was Fauci by the evidence and by the science. Peter Navarro's a PhD at Harvard. He's laying out the math. Your point's very deep, and this is going to be one of the biggest issues going forward, that we're a bunch of Luddites.
Right.
We're a bunch of just, it's all about the baby Jesus, right? It's all pure faith. There's nothing, the evidence, and the oligarchs and the Wall Street guys and the global corporatists, they're the men and women of science, and they're database and they're evidence-based.
And what is so funny about it is that they don't know the science. I'm guaranteeing you could take 30 leftist journalists out of the White House press corps.
Oh, they're all actors.
And you could say to all of them, "Hey, give us Newton's 3 laws, right?
Greitens,
Give us one."
That's too easy.
Okay, all right, that's too easy.
They're all actors. I mean, you're one of the few guys that you're the complete package. No, they're all actors. I'm talking about when you get the serious. Look, this gets back to November 3rd. And now we got John Fredericks. We're bringing John Fredericks I'll do this segue. Yes. No, because this is it. It's about the evidence. It's about the facts. It's about grilling down. And hey, the Dominion voting systems yesterday, Lindell's goading him on, sue me, I need your suit, sue me, run around. The lawsuit, Raheem Kassam, the National Pulse, your podcast yesterday, you go through it line by line. Most of it is about Lindell's a brilliant card counter. Lindell's a brilliant mathematician. Lindell knows exactly what he's doing. He's a con artist. He's making a lot of money off this on the con, knowing it's not true. It wasn't so much that they defamed us because it's all lies. I mean, they do have a section in there. I'm not trying to say that, but they're weighted to he's got a scam going, right? And he's just saying, hey, and he's doing the machines. We're saying even without the machines, you got the low hanging fruit. And you talk about fight. I'm looking around at these states now. They're hung up in Arizona. They can't get to the Maricopa County thing because a guy in the Senate flipped, and they're out there doing all kind of backflips to try to do it. Pennsylvania, noticeably crickets in the assembly, and in Georgia, I want to bring in John Fredericks. By the way, a scalp to start the day, John. Purdue announced. This is 100% John Fredericks Radio, and people got to understand. John Fredericks is storming. The John Fredericks Radio Network is storming Atlanta on the 1st of March with a whole new take on radio down there. And by the way, Purdue's announcing today that he's not running, John. I got to give credit to the entire posse of the John Fredericks Radio Network.
Well, thank you, Steve. And there's no question about it. When Purdue launched that exploratory committee, we unloaded on him. We had a litany of callers over 5 days just saying they didn't want any part of his candidacy based on the pathetic performance he had running in that runoff, and also in 2020 in the general. Couldn't beat John Ossoff, who's a complete joke, never had a job, now he's going to run again. So Purdue's out. Here, Steve, the other thing at a Forsyth County Tea Party meeting last night, very well attended, we just learned that the real people that cost Purdue and Kelly Loeffler their seats in the Senate were not the candidates, and it was not the voters. They blamed Steve Bannon and John Fredericks for going to Georgia and stirring things up.
The populace.
Always
naturally, the populace.
Talk to voters. You can't talk to voters.
Right.
Only they get to talk to voters.
Right.
In fact, we went down there and talked to voters. We upset the apple cart. And then, for good measure, they threw in Doug Collins, and they blamed him. So it's Doug Collins, Steve Bannon, and John Fredericks, and the populist movement are what sunk those two senators, according to Mitch McConnell and the Tea Party. So we get full credit for that.
No, the reality is Mitch McConnell and the campaign managers down there had no interest in backing President Trump. All they had to do is call for a special session, say they were going to back him on the 6th on looking at these votes, right, having the state legislators look at the votes. They didn't do it. That's why I think it was 300,000 Trump people didn't show up. We begged them every day. You got to, if you stand up, you're going to win, and you're going to win big. And no, what they decided to do, the grift. I think it was $500 or $600 million raised down there. All TV ads. You remember, John, you couldn't get on TV, you couldn't get on radio, all ads all the time. Ads don't mean anything. Right. It's getting people savvy enough. They know what the thing is. It's not about socialism and capitalism. It's all that stuff is all nonsense. That's all baked up into the the Senate Republican. Okay, we're going to take a quick break. John, we got to come back. I got to get to what's happening in the legislature. Also, this Mitch McConnell versus, you're going to be down at CPAC, Mitch McConnell versus Trump. We got Eric Greitens, got some very strong opinions about that. Raheem Gassam, all of us are going to be back in the war room in just a second.
We're taking down the CCP. Spread the word all through Hong Kong. We will fight till they're all gone. We rejoice when there's no more. Let's take down the CCP. They have all lied for too long. We will end what they do wrong. Spread the word all through Hong Kong. Let's take down the CCP.
War Room Pandemic with Stephen K. Bannon.
The epidemic is a demon, and we cannot let this demon hide.
War Room Pandemic. Here's your host, Stephen K. Bannon.
Okay, breaking news. Jack Posobiec's telling us that in this hearing that Stephen Sund, who is the head Capitol Police, right, confirms that Capitol Police had intel extremist groups to include white nationalists and Antifa were planning to disrupt and co-opt Trump's rally. We're going to get to more of that and get some details. I want to make sure that the word Antifa actually crossed Sund's mouth in either a question or in testimony. Okay, I want to go back to John Fredericks. This is all the broader, John, you're going into CPAC this week. This is broader. The Politico had the story about Mitch McConnell versus Donald Trump. Trump saying, hey, it's his party. Last night, I think there was breaking news, although our former colleague here, our co-host Jason Miller, I think denied it on Twitter, saying that President Trump had said, the Washington Examiner breaking, that President Trump said, hey, if Pence is going, I'm not. And, of course, they had the quote from yours truly, Stephen K. Bannon, in that article, Rob Curley, one of the best reporters in town, where I said, hey, Pence's presidential concepts or potential ended on the afternoon of 6 January, right, with that letter he said, which is totally a phony letter, misinterpreted what the president said, and never sent a draft to anybody to get anybody's feedback. John, I want to ask you about Georgia. We need fighters. And, we're not, if they want to know, and if McConnell and these guys want to know how not to get out all amalgamation plus that are going to win elections and win 50 seats in the House and take back over the Senate and win in Georgia and all these great things, all they have to do is show people they're not doing anything on sorting out the November 3rd fiasco. And that means we're never again going to have silent consent decrees. We're going to have any of this stuff, right? So what's going? We know Stacey Abrams. You may not like her politics. You may not like the cut of her jib. You may not like anything, but she's a fighter. She delivered. She delivered for their side, and she's a fighter, and she doesn't back down. She doesn't care what these guys have to say. She's just crashing right through it. And, hey, our guys, everybody's feckless. What's happening in Georgia? Are they stepping up down there, that legislator that failed to call themselves back when they had full authority to do it, to call themselves back? Didn't need Kempf. Didn't Raffensperger, all these guys that could do it themselves, didn't do it. What's happening in the Georgia legislature?
Well, our worst fears are coming true right before our eyes. There are so many great bills in the Georgia legislature right now for voter integrity. There's about 21 of them. We're hoping that these get combined into 2 or 3 big ones. It passes and Kemp signs it. All that remains to be seen. But the Quislings, the Bryan, Kemp, Raffensperger, Cosmo Man, Quislings are at it again. Let me give you an example that happened just yesterday, and it's in the Georgia Star News. You can go to georgiastarnews.com. Sharice Byrd, Representative Republican Woodstock, had a bill that was sailing through. Her bill was very simple. In Georgia, you can get a driver's license or an ID if you're not an American citizen, whether you're here illegally or not. You have to be able to drive. That's fine. Passed law, everybody gets it. She had a bill that said if you're not a citizen and you have a driver's license or a government-issued ID, that it simply says on the ID, I am not a U.S. citizen, I cannot vote. Right? Right on the ID. That stops anybody illegal from voting. It was sailing through, no problem. Everybody said it made sense. I had her on my show 2 times. Everybody was in support of that. Then it gets killed in committee by committee chair Barry Fleming, Republican. He deep sixes it. Then he blames subcommittee chairman Bonnie Rich. She says she's not going forward with it. They kill it in committee, and they hope that that's the end of it. What they want, what the Quislings want, is they don't want to be part of this. They don't really want reform. They want to play footsie with Stacey Abrams, and they think in the past they want the AJC writing nice things about them. But here's what we have to do. Shalice came on my show today. she was very emphatic in saying, we got to pull this, we got to pop this out of committee. Here's how you do it. You call these legislators up and you say, get Byrd's bill out of committee and bring it to the floor. Let's have a vote on it and put people on the record. I'm going to give their number, Steve, if you don't mind. 'Cause
please.
This is critical. It starts here. This is the first one. Barry Fleming, 404-656-5105. 404-656-5105. Bonnie Rich, 404-656-5087. And then what they do is they blame each other. Oh, it's Bonnie Rich in the subcommittee. Oh, no, it's not me in the subcommittee.
Yeah.
It's Barry Fleming, the committee chairman. And we hope it all goes away.
Look, they used to be able to
This is the
confuse.
line in the sand, Steve.
They used to be able to confuse people. This is what this show's about: empowering you. We need you activated to get on top of this. The establishment is only going to lose more and more. Just one question I've got. We've got about 2 minutes left. John Fredericks, please tell me they're actually in this process of looking at these voter integrity things. They're actually going to have a hearing to talk about what went on November 3rd. They're actually going to sit there and go through the illegal alien voting, the underage voting, the dead voting. You can leave the machines out, but is there going to be, as you see it right now in this calendar, as they talk about voter integrity, to talk about the event itself? Yes or no?
No, they're not going to do it because the committee chairman won't allow it because they want to go forward, making believe that nothing has happened. There's a
well, now
bill
the time.
right
now that I'm
by
actually.
Burt Jones.
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
No, I'm glad we're starting on
Jones,
Monday in Atlanta because this has got to stop. You can't sort out Georgia. You're not going to sort out Georgia in 2022. You're not going to sort out Georgia in 2024. So if you want to perpetually lose, because I got to tell you, 20% of the people are just going to sit there. I've had enough of it. These guys know so much. Hey, I'm not going to ring doorbells. I'm not going to give money. I'm out. Right? I'm not everybody, but 20%. I'm out. That was the 300,000 didn't show up because you don't have the guts to stand up. Are there going to be hearings about machines? Why are there even machines? I'm not saying Dominion systems, good, bad, whatever. I'm saying the very concept of why don't we just count them, make it a holiday, get the high school kids in there, make it a civics lesson. Everybody counts votes. It's a community. We vote, and then we count, right? We vote and we count. Just like the old days, it's a barn raising. This is a national barn raising of votes. Are they going to talk about are going to talk about machines versus humans? Oh, I've got another one. We're the humanists. We want human counts. The transhumanists, materialists want machine counts, right? Well, that's another line in separation. I just thought of that. That was good. Fredericks, what do we got? Are they going to do that?
Yes, Burt Jones, potential candidate for governor, now especially that Purdue is out, and we think Doug Collins is going to run for Senate. He's got a bill going in right now that they're going to have to deal with, which is to go to paper ballots. He's already got one liberal Democratic Atlanta senator, which is Senator Elena Barrett, that didn't want the Dominion machines in the first place. She's backing him.
Okay.
If they can get the paper ballots, Kemp is going to have to sign that. They're going to have to eat the $110 million. That's the start. That's going to have to get the
Hey,
paper.
John, just hang on. I want to ask about CPAC. We're going to do a cold open, but I want to ask about CPAC, get some guys' feedback on Trump versus McConnell this week. Take a short commercial break. Be right back.